In today's music lesson, I'd like to take a look at what are the basic music notes. So if you're an absolute beginner, then this video is for you. Let's go ahead and get started. So the basic music notes that we're going to have are going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then after that we're going to go back around to A. And so let's go ahead and maybe put like a separator right here and just kind of think that this just sort of does this again. F, G, and then does it again. And it does this around and around and around forever. And so what you can actually really think of is you could sort of think of the notes as being on a circle. And imagine that I started here with A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now I want to consider two things on my circle. One is I want to consider, well, this circle, where does it start? And if you thought of, well, it starts at the top because that's where I started drawing the circle, or it starts at the top because that's where A is at, then you would be incorrect. Remember that circles, like they commonly are in mathematics, they don't have a starting point, they don't have an ending point. There's no point to them. They're just a continuous line that goes on, forever, essentially, if you keep going around and around. And that's exactly what happens here. And so if I would start here at A, I can just sort of go around this direction, and I can go all the way around until I came back around to A, and I would start over again. Or I could actually start this from B, and I can go all the way around. I can do all the way around here until I came to the next B. I could do this again from C, or D, or E, or F. And the idea here that we're really trying to drive home is that there is no starting or ending value. Okay, so A is not where the music alphabet starts. It doesn't start on A, it doesn't start on B or C or D. There is no starting point. We tend to think of it as an A just because we're kind of familiar with that in terms of our standard, maybe our English alphabet. Now, there's a couple of relationships we want to draw from kind of thinking about this circle, and one of them is this idea about, well, what is the distance here between these two notes? Like, what is the distance from an A to an A? And it turns out that that distance has a very special name, and we're going to call that distance an octave. And if you think about the prefix octa, right here, octave means 8, right? So octa, like octet, or octagon, or octopus, or octogenarian, or octave, anything like that, we can think of it just basically means 8. Okay, so octa is 8, and so this is just going to mean 8 notes. So there are 8 notes from point A to point B. If I think about A, and if I just sort of label these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and if I were to start, let's say, from B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so that is what's called an octave. Now, the next thing I want to think about is I really want to think about direction. And so I'm actually going this direction, and I'm going to call that going up. And if I were to go this direction, we're going to call this going down. Okay, so going up and going down. And so on my circle here, going this direction is going up, and going this direction would be considered to be going down. Okay, so going down the scale, or down the musical alphabet, or going down the basic notes, or going up them. So we really have two ideas that we want to kind of think about, which are direction. Are we going up or are we going down? Okay, and we also want to consider things like the very special distance that we have called an octave, which comes up over and over and over again in music. And in fact, in much later music theory classes, we'll actually refer to octaves as something a little bit more fancy, and we're going to call them something like, we're going to call notes that have the same names as pitch classes, and sometimes we can get really fancy and just call those PCs versus pitches and stuff. So we are not going to discuss that today, but that's sort of a preview of what we might discuss later on. So basic music notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and that repeats on and on forever. In future videos, we are going to take a look at what the chromatic scale in sharps would look like, and as well as the chromatic scale in flats, and so on and so forth. Thanks so much for watching.